Starlight Kid and Mei Seira are two of the brightest lights of the new generation of women's wrestlers. They are great athletes who favor bursts of fast-paced action and are more interested in developing their athletic sequences than in simply trying to stand out by adding another partial rotation to their flip. Both are just 22 years old, but Starlight Kid is far more experienced, starting 3 years earlier than Mei and being a full-time wrestler since 2018. Starlight is definitely the better of the two right now. She's the more spectacular performer, but is also quite smart and diverse for her age. She's been moving towards a more thoughtful, El Desperado-influenced technical style, where she works the opponent's knee, and is one of the few women in Stardom who is more than capable of leading a logical, cohesive match. Given that Starlight has more than twice as many matches, one could argue that Mei is actually the better prospect. It really feels like victory matters to her, and that just has such a positive effect on the whole tenor of her matches. Mei is the tougher one of the two to pin down because she isn't leading the matches against wrestlers of similar or greater experience. She can greatly improve somebody else's match, but she isn't to the level yet where she can make a match on her own, and this, combined with a lot of sketchy opponents, leads to inconsistency. Some of her best traits are showing a tremendous urgency to win, lending a scrambling nature to the match where they have to hurry to beat the opponent to the next move, like in a real fight, because the opponent doesn't exist simply to facilitate their offense, subverting expectations by crossing her opponent up, and playing the passionate, spirited babyface. You may get all of this, or none of this, in any particular Mei match. In general, this match against Starlight, and Mei's May 4th, 2023 match against Azumi, which are my favorite women's matches of the last 2 years, are by far her best singles matches due to incorporating all these aspects, as well as showing a lot of heart and intensity. However, a lot of her other Stardom work is more standard and conventional. While Starlight has her moonsaults to fall back on if she needs to, Mei still isn't using a lot of big moves. She's mostly relying on her quickness and athleticism. Her offense is often the 80s Flyers staples. She might even win with her dropkick, but her main finisher is a pinning predicament called the Nagare Boshi. That's a jackknife cradle into a sunset flip variation. Even though her offense isn't nearly as spectacular as your typical athletic wrestler, a lot of times she's mostly chaining flash pins. Her sequences are far beyond what most others of any age are doing. While Mei debuted in 2018, Marvelous was never a full-time job, and she had the 2-year break after she left the promotion before joining Stardom, so she's still only a little more than 300 matches into her career. Most of the hot moves in this June 22, 2024 match, from Tokyo Yoyogi National Gym No. 2, were performed by Starlight even though she's the Rudo. Mei's strength doesn't lie so much in what she does though, but rather that she does it with so much speed and conviction that it actually seems meaningful, rather than just another choreographed forms exhibition. Mei was using enough speed and athleticism to get her moves off that it felt like she was doing important things, even though they might be kind of basic. These two have worked with each other in countless tags, where they have developed excellent chemistry, but this was their first singles match. Their style is on the more choreographed side, but their choreography feels more realistic than most others because they aren't just going through the motions. There's actually some sense of struggle and resistance to most of what they're doing throughout the match. They chain several movements together here in a manner that feels like an urgent scramble to beat the opponent to the spot or move, while most wrestlers are either moving in unison at a calm 3/4 speed, or just standing in front of one another waiting for someone to do something they aren't going to resist. Starlight and Mei's stuff is very fluid and flowing, and they react to each other quite impressively, but there's also a more natural, on-the-fly kind of feeling to their sequences that keep them from coming off as such an obvious collection of practiced, pre-planned movements. A haphazard, chaotic exhibition of what they've been practicing at the dojo would be my generic description of most of the Stardom tags these days. While they are often energetic, action-packed, quick-hitting affairs, they usually just feel like a disorganized collection of random choreographed sequences, phony forearm exchanges, and overdramatic tropes thoughtlessly pasted together. In singles, Starlight is able to lay out something more logically coordinated that has some connective tissue and builds with a sensible progression. Though it started as a sprint, and they incorporated some really impressive flashy athletic counter sequences that actually felt like they evolved fairly organically throughout, the backbone of the match was the knee storyline. They were able to pull this off well, so it didn't feel like an uneven match that was alternating between 0 and 100 miles per hour. Starlight working the knee put her in the role of trying to slow things down, so to speak. While Starlight could be more spectacular than Mei, she was trying to win the match, and she has a lot more options in a more deliberate and methodical match than Mei does. Mei always wanted to push the pace because surprising Starlight is her best chance to beat her. She was always coming back at full speed, at least as much as her knee would allow. Right from the outset, they were trying to get the win in any manner, reversing and countering into flash pin attempts. Although this would likely have been Mei's strategy anyway, Starlight working over her knee played into this well because Mei was compromised almost from the get-go and had to find any way she could to pull this out. This match had a high level of difficulty because it required a lot of speed, athleticism, and timing. Still, it always felt like a wrestling match, with the frantic action aiding the story of Mei just trying to eke out the victory rather than to incapacitate her opponent. The first big gymnastics sequence culminated with Starlight injuring Mei's knee with the leg screw. Starlight then went right after the knee, targeting it with both her heel work by standing on it and her flying with a standing moonsault. Mei did a good job of selling this without it slowing the match down. She was putting it over after her moves, and there was a double sell after her drop kick off the apron. Mei was still showing heart, determination, and desire for victory though, trying to fight through it and to keep on the offensive, rather than just laying around wailing so they could keep taking breaks. Starlight Kid was trying to punish Mei and win. If a sequence evolved out of that, fine, but she wasn't purely here for show. She was just as happy to counter Mei's dropkick into a mid-air dragon screw, and then go into numero dos, as she was to use the top rope. Mei was trying to push the pace to make up for getting out-wrestled in the slower portions by her more diverse opponent. She was compromised and was always fighting the uphill battle, but this is the kind of match where you believe she could actually still win by countering it to one of her flash pins. Mostly all she tried to do was outmaneuver Starlight into some sort of roll-up that would keep Starlight down for 3. Starlight ultimately took Mei out with her star suplex, which is what she calls her tiger suplex. This was a rare modern pro wrestling match that didn't have to be that good, but still managed to be excellent because they cared that much about having a memorable match. This wasn't some big show feature match that everyone was counting on to save an otherwise forgettable lineup. There were no stakes here, none of Stardom's 75 titles were on the line. Given this was the third match on the card, and actually part of the free YouTube pay-per-view pre-show, they could have just done a half-hearted match, or even mailed it in. Instead, it's possible they were actually holding back a bit so as to not show all the overrated matches on the main card up too much. Unfortunately, these two joined forces after the match, which is good in the sense that it assures their teammate won't drag them down, but bad in the sense that their opponents likely will instead. Having them face each other regularly would be better for their personal development, and probably force them to become even more daring and creative in their sequences and counters. This match surpassed the January 4th Mayu Iwatani vs. Shuri match, and is currently my top women's match of 2024. I give this match 4 stars out of 5.